Friends, if I could have your attention for a moment. In a few moments, we are going to begin the service for Mr. Aaron Rubin. If you have a cell phone or any noise-making device, I ask you to take a moment to please turn it on silent. Officiating today's service is Rabbi Lisa Green of North Shore Congregation Israel. On behalf of the family, I also like to welcome those who are watching on this service on live stream. At this time, I'm going to ask you all to rise as we escort the rabbi and the family into the chapel.
We're not supposed to be here. Everyone here knows that. This isn't supposed to be. And we're here. And we're all terribly sad, devastated. So everyone who is here, promise me something. You don't have to say it out loud at this moment. But when you go forth later today from here, take your memories, take your favorite story of Aaron, take that joke, take that life lesson, write it down. Send a letter, gasp, that's a little retro. Send an email. Try not to send a text because they get lost too. But put it in a form that Jordan and Alexa, Lori and Natalie and Mara and Noel and all of you can come back to the words again and again. And one more thing. Promise me that you'll keep connected to all of these wonderful people. It's easy in the first day or week or 2 weeks, but keep coming forward. Don't ask them to respond to you, please. That's way too much pressure when you're grieving a horrible loss. But keep connecting and dropping a text or a note or a phone call or dinner or whatever it is. It can be funny, it can be serious. Show your love and your presence. I didn't know Aaron, but I expect that's what he would ask, to love his family. Ralph Waldo Emerson wrote, "To laugh often and love much, to win the respect of intelligent persons and the affections of children, to learn the approbation of honest critics and endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate beauty, to find the best in others, to give oneself, to leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, or redeemed social condition, to have played and laughed with enthusiasm and sung with exultation, to know that one life has breathed easier because you have lived. This is to have succeeded. Each of us comes here, I'm sure, with a memory of a joke, a moment of levity, how many song lyrics and movie lines. Aaron succeeded. We know that. We are here with love and remembrance, with grief. It is a fearful thing to love what death can touch, a fearful thing to love, hope, dream, to be. To be and oh, to lose, a thing for fools this, and a holy thing to love. For your life has lived in me, your laugh once lifted me, your world was gift to me. To remember this brings painful joy. 'Tis a human thing, love, a holy thing. Death will come. Its hand will not be stayed even an instant, nor can we enter into judgment with it. Our question why will go unanswered. But this does not mean that we are helpless in the face of death. We can and we do rob death of ultimate victory by living life as long as it is ours to live. To ask of death that it never come is futile. But it is not futility to pray that when death does come for us, it may take us from a world, one corner of which is a little better, because we were there. When we are dead and people weep for us and grieve, let it be because we touched their lives with beauty, simplicity, joy, and love. Let it not be said that life was good to us, but rather that we were good to life. As we praise you this day, O God, we think of those whose death devastated our lives. We feel the bonds that tied us together, the love that we shared, and the memories that will remain with us still. We thank you, O God, for the gift of Aaron's life. What are we, O God, that you should care for us? Our days are like a fleeting shadow, a wistful sigh, the whisper of the wind. So teach us to treasure each day of our life as a precious gift from you, O God, and to treasure all whom we love, today and every day. As we gather with grief and sadness, let us gather too with gratitude for Aaron, for his friendship, for his love, for his life. We turn to the voice of our sacred scriptures that brings us the ever-new message of God's presence. It tells of our kinship with the Creator, in light as in darkness, in joy as in sorrow, in life as in death. Esa enai el heharim me'ayin yavo Ezri. Ezri me'im Adonai oseh shamayim va'aretz. Ayiten lamut raglecha al yanum shomrecha. Hine lo yanum v'lo yishan shomer Yisrael. I lift my eyes to the mountains. What is the source of my help? My help comes from Adonai, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. Your protector will not slumber. See, the protector of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. God is your guardian. God is your protection at your right hand. The sun will not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. God will guard you from all harm. God will guard your soul, your going and coming, now and forever. As we turn to the words of the 23rd Psalm, I invite you to join with me and find them inside the booklet you are handed as you enter the chapel. Please join with me. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. An ancient people were well acquainted with grief and the valley of shadows. Death and sorrow are not strangers to us, though the centuries have taught us that a good name endures beyond the grave, and that there is strength in faith. With Job we say, Adonai Natan, God, you have given. You gave us a loved one who will not be forgotten. For all that was good and enduring in Aaron's life, we offer the deepest thanks of our hearts. Adonai Lakach, God, you've taken away. We pray for strength. We pray for strength and support to go forward today and each day. So we say, Yehi Shem Adonai Mevarach, blessed be God. Let us pause for silent prayer and reflection. May the words of our mouths and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable in your sight, O God, our rock and our Redeemer. Each of us is given a number of days and years to fill as we see fit. How we fill that time, what we build and create, our hopes, our dreams, and our passions become others' treasured memories after our life is drawn to a close. So many here have treasured memories, our most sacred possessions. We turn to Aaron's sister, Maura, her husband, Richard, and then to Aaron's dear friend, Joe Ranguzo, to share with us memories, some of the special story that was Aaron's life. Take your time. Oh, wow.
As my kids say, I cry a lot. I'm sorry. This morning, I can't believe I'm actually standing here doing this. I don't even know where to start. Everyone knows how amazing my brother Aaron was. Growing up with my brothers, Noel and Aaron was definitely fun. My brothers have this special sense of humor, an innate ability to know what to say to one another, and the other knowing exactly what to say to that. I was always so jealous how they can just out of nowhere. Growing up, my brothers would always look out for me. As everyone knows, my brothers are definitely not tough guys. As I'm sure they'd like to say they're lovers, not fighters. But Aaron always looked out for me. If anyone started trouble with me, he wanted to punch him. He never wanted to see me hurt. Oh, he was the best. When Noel, Aaron, and I were kids, everyone thought we were triplets. Partly because my parents cut my hair really, really short, and then we looked like three little boys. Since Aaron and I were close in age, our friends were intertwined. Mine were his were mine. And I love that. God, he was the best. If you didn't know, Aaron moved in with me a couple years back for about 6 months. Oh my God, we had the time of our lives. We got into TV shows together. We went grocery shopping. We might have drank a little too much. But we laughed a lot. Because what I had been through, he wanted just to protect me. I just wanted to make sure that I never got hurt again. When he met Richard, there was a bromance between those two. They bonded over Slapshot and other movies, and Aaron kept telling him before we got married, you know it's not too late to get out. Luckily, he didn't get out and left Lily and Eli. Being your uncle was one of his favorite things. He always said that he had your back forever, no matter what. I would be remiss to say beyond music, Luz, the Cubs, and Jack and Coke, his girls, were the center of his universe. Even when he was sick and in pain and really couldn't sit up, he made sure he was here for those girls. If it meant going somewhere like Alexa's graduation, oh God, there's tears I can't read. Visiting Jordan in Nashville, he made sure he did it. Just a few weeks ago, all he wanted to do was go to St. Louis and take Alexa to a Cubs game. It was kind of a 2-for-1 deal, as Jordan was going to be there with her friends. He literally couldn't get out of bed and was in so much pain. There was clearly no way he could fly or even get through an airport by himself. But up until the day, the girls even came home, but he was supposed to leave. He tried to convince himself, I am going, and everyone around him that he was going. He was telling the doctors, everyone. His girls were his everything. You are his everything and always will be. Whether it's watching silly movies or rocking out in the car, checking in with him before going to bed, he would drop anything to be with them, to do something. Obviously, the past few years were hard. He was in pain more than he wasn't. The grimaces on his face is something I'll never forget. However, the saving grace is that he met the love of his life. There you are. I never saw his eyes light up like that before, Lori. You were the angel that Aaron never knew he needed. And I can't thank you for loving him so hard and so much. You are forever and will be family. Aaron was my best friend. We talked almost every day. I would send him funny memes and jokes, especially when I knew he was in treatment or having a bad day. He was not easy to please in this regard. He would usually respond in a meme that my sister's an idiot, or simply meh. But when he would reply that actually, hey, that's not a bad one, it made my whole day. I can't believe I'm never gonna get another text from him again. Aaron, I hope you're hanging out with Dad, and I hope you're both watching all over us. Because don't worry, we'll now save 2 seats at Viaggio. I don't want to say goodbye. I never want to say goodbye because I love you so much. Thank you for enriching my life, your friendship, and your unconditional love. I did good.
I'm not sure how I'm going to do it.
Excuse me.
The definition of simple is plain, basic, or uncomplicated in form. Nature or design without much decoration or ornamentation. On a few occasions, I heard Aaron describe himself as a simple man. He was a son, a father, a brother, a very significant other, an uncle, a loyal friend, and for those that knew him, they know that this description fits him perfectly. It really didn't take much to make him satisfied. CSN, Luz, the Cubs, Jack and Coke, the Blues Brothers, Lori, and above all, his girls. I didn't know Aaron for as long as a lot of you, so maybe there's a few things you'd want to add to the list. But I think the beauty of this is the simplicity of his life, because he embraced it. And he never, ever compromised it. In Aaron's battle with cancer, he simply rose to the occasion and fought like hell. If you were to have asked him, he would have told you, it's simple. I want more time with Lori. I want to spend more time with my girls. There were more trips to take, occasions to witness, life to live on his terms. It was purely simple and wonderful. It didn't matter the discomfort he had to endure. That is what he lived for, plain and simple. Day in and day out over the past 2+ years that I saw him battle this horrible disease. There was also his sense of humor, a lot of it based on being able to recall movie lines and scenes and appropriate moments. Slapshot, Blues Brothers, Alf, Caddyshack. He was able to be straight-faced until the punchline. Most people knew the lines, but there was a joy in the nuance in how Aaron delivered the line. Afterward, there was the satisfaction of making people smile or laugh. Simple. Some people express themselves through art, the written word, charitable donations. Aaron did it through purchasing t-shirts. Each one in his now very vast collection had a meaning that went beyond just an article of clothing to put on. He would spend hours searching for meaningful shirts with the right message, the right color, the right genre. If he found the right shirt for someone and he was going to give it to them, it was special. He had to know if it was the right color, the right saying, and to know if you loved it. Not liked it, but you had to love it. During one of his hospital stays about a month ago, he gave Mara a shirt, and he literally was like a kid on Christmas, or maybe Hanukkah in our cases, to see how much she liked it. The next day, she walked into his hospital room wearing it, and the pain he was enduring went away, and the twinkle in his eyes was there. It was truly special. Aaron didn't like Aaron didn't like a fuss to be made about him or any fuss around him at all. Simple. So Mara and I kind of have a tradition on Shabbat, on Fridays. Okay, we just go to this restaurant on Friday. It's called Viaggio. And by the way, if you haven't been there, it's terrific. And the people are phenomenal. When he moved in, he would say, I don't want to be the third wheel. You'll know people, you'll have to talk. But we made him come with us anyway. Then he started looking forward to being welcome there every weekend. They knew what he wanted, and they took care of him. It was simple. It was the simple joy of sharing a meal and being with people that love you. And his last time out for dinner, about 3-4 weeks ago, we sat at the bar. He ate a little bit. He grimaced through the pain, but he enjoyed every second of just being out. Personally, I was so lucky to be touched by Aaron. Definitely not enough time, but I was so fortunate. I learned about the joy in the simple things in his life and life in general. Maybe we should all take a page from Aaron, make a silly joke, buy a wacky but meaningful t-shirt for someone, have a dinner that would make a dietitian take pause. But enjoy the simple things in your life, whatever they may be, and be as true to yourself as he was. He definitely made it look simple. So as a final memorial for Aaron, I'd like all of you, please, to raise your right hand, put up your middle finger, and I'd like you to say, F you cancer.
F you cancer.
Thank you.
Oh, you take my mask off. I really should have gone before that because this will be short, but I'm very much like Aaron and do not like getting up in front of people, but I just needed to. So I was not expecting to meet someone or ultimately fall in love with them when Aaron and I ran into each other at the emergency room in the middle of the night, especially someone with pancreatic cancer, but it's hard not to love Aaron. There are so many people here today that he would absolutely love to see, although he would hate all the attention. He kept talking about trips we needed to take to Michigan, Cincinnati, the UP, Florida, LA, and the list goes on. Aaron and I knew that we would most likely not grow old together. But he had said often he didn't want to waste any days. Tomorrow is guaranteed to nobody, and how true that is. There were not nearly enough days, but we did the best we could with the circumstances. COVID, cancer, those little things. I loved every second of the time we spent together. And now he's definitely laughing that I'm going to read a poem because it's not really Aaron's way or mine, but it captures the essence of him and all of the people, and there are a lot whose lives he's enriched just from knowing him. Now I need my glasses. And the water bottle he gave me that we both dragged around everywhere. I have my water bottle. This is called The Dash. I read of a man who stood to speak at the funeral of a friend. He referred to the dates on the tombstone from the beginning to the end. He noted that first came the date of birth and spoke of the following date with tears. But he said what mattered most of all was the dash between those years. For that dash represents all the time they spent alive on earth, and now only those who loved him know what that little line is worth. For it matters not how much we own, the cars, the house, the cash. What matters is how we live and love and how we spend our dash. So think about this long and hard. Are there things you'd like to change? For you never know how much time is left that still can be rearranged. To be less quick to anger and show appreciation more and love the people in our lives we've never loved before. If we treat each other with respect and more often wear a smile, remembering that this special dash might only last a little while. So when your eulogy is being read and your life's actions to rehash, would you be proud of the things they say about how you lived your dash? I think he lived his dash. I don't even know. Thanks.
Thanks, Lori. Joe?
Good morning. For those who you know, I was the talker of the two, so I'm going to talk. My name's Joe. I'm Aaron's brother from another mother. Lori reminded me the other day of one of Aaron's favorite speeches. It's from Jimmy Valvano. The big takeaway was 3 things we should do every day of our life: laugh, think, and cry. So let's do it. I've had the pleasure of spending the last 33 years with my friend Aaron. As you know, Aaron wasn't much of a sharer and kept his emotions to himself for the most part. But we were very close, and we shared everything with each other. So I want to spend a moment with you and share a couple things you may or may not know. A few things Aaron liked: bagel dogs, red geos, Seagrams, tanning, Seagrams and tanning, road trips, Jack and Coke, CSN, not so much why, the Cubs, the Blackhawks, his girls, his camp buddies, his frat brothers, and of course his family. Referencing old shows and movies, hence both of us always calling each other Dummy, and why I'm called Uncle Dummy, and the looks we've received from that. And just as we recently found out, banana pudding. Aaron really enjoyed his music. The first time I walked down to his cave in the basement in 1988, he had hundreds of tapes on shelves, and always one playing in the cassette player. And I have to be honest with all of you right now. I did not like his music. It just wasn't for me. Crosby, Stills, and Nash. Crosby, Stills, and Nash. And more Crosby, Stills, and Nash. Over and over. And man, how passionate he was about it. But I just didn't get it. Until one day, my eyes, ears, and heart were open to this guy because of this music. I mentioned road trips before, right? Okay. Man, Aaron liked to take road trips, liked to just get in the car and go. We did it all the time. It's the reason it took me 3 years to get through 2-year college. Any random day of the week, sitting in the basement, Aaron would look at me and say, "Hey, you want to go to insert random college?" And of course I agreed, and we went. And on every one of these trips to several states, several colleges, he would always either know someone or we'd hear the random screaming out, "Aaron Rubin!" It was amazing. We never, ever stayed at a hotel or in a car or on a bench. There was always someone who knew Aaron Rubin and gave us a place to stay and do other things that I will not discuss today. Sorry. Back to my eyes, ears, and heart being opened. It was on one of these road trips, actually right before. We get into the car, and Aaron was so excited. And Aaron always drove, always. So he pulls out this brand new CD, okay? Yep, we moved up the CDs at that point. Guess what band? Crosby, Stills, and Nash. And Young. But I didn't even get a chance to think, oh crap, not another 3 hours of this. Because at that moment, when he put it in and the music started, I noticed something in Aaron. It was the look in his eyes. It was so passionate, real, and full of love. I saw it. And from that moment on, I never had to hear a single word from him because I knew what he was feeling. I can see it. Which was nice because he wasn't a big talker with his emotions. I saw that look many times we shared moments together, especially when he talked about Stu, when he talked about Jordan and Alexa, the Cubs in 2016. Well, we both cried when that happened. Tears of joy. Maybe you noticed it, or maybe not, but I'm sure many of you here today have seen the look. Not to be confused with the look of Mrs. Rubin when we did something wrong. Noel and Mara know that look. Love you, Mrs. Rubin. And needless to say, this newfound love for this man's passion allowed me to be unconditional and explore Crosby, Stills, and Nash more. Happy to say that I became a fan. And he was even okay with the fact that I like Young the most. So again, I'm a talker and sometimes don't know when to shut up. Maybe that's another reason why we got along so well. He'd sit in the background playing it cool, while I would yak away. Maybe that's why he got all the girls. I don't know. So I'm going to end with one of my favorite Rubin memories, Seder Dinner. Even though I only went to a few, I loved going to the Rubin family Seder dinners. Aaron always thought I was nuts for wanting to participate in this tradition with his family. I'm not even Jewish. I know. But I loved Aaron and his family. I still love Aaron and his family. And even more, I loved that they accepted me. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of my life through Aaron. Mrs. Rubin, Noel, Mara, Jordan, Alexa, Uncle Doc, Uncle Brian, Aunt Linda. And one of my favorite parts of Seder Dinner was doing the readings in Hebrew. Aaron always said that I didn't have to do it. But I always committed because at those moments I really felt like part of the family, like his brother. And he would always get a good laugh out of it. So one more laugh, my brother. Ani ohev otka aki shalom aleichem. Thank you.
I stand to give a few words, but really, there are no words. We gather with love and remembrance, with deep grief. Come on, Aaron should be here today. He loved you. We shouldn't be gathering to mourn. We should be gathering for whatever joyful purpose. Is there comfort to be found? Right now, we pause. We pause to hear you, some of you who loved him, everyone here loved him. We expect to hear Aaron speak. See him in your mind's eye. See him walking in the door, ready to quote a movie or how many movies, maybe just Blues Brothers, and how many song lyrics. CSN did have some good lyrics, Joe. It does. He might well have given you an awfully off-color joke, particularly about cancer, as only he could do. And what t-shirt would he be wearing? Would he have Jackson with him? And he'd be so happy to see you all here, dear friends and family. You showed up in life, you showed up in death. Some of you were the friends who met him in Michigan for Relay for Life when he went to walk the course. You showed up there. You showed up in so many places. Natalie, you look back and see Aaron, the little boy with croup sitting on Stuart's lap. You see your 3 children then and now. Imagine them as little ones, ever so close, picking on one another with that love and closeness, and joking again and again and again. Noel, Mara, how many moments, how much humor, how much shtick, how many videos do you have of that shtick? When you were in sync, you were at the restaurant and the check came, when you were living together as kids or adults, sharing a room, sharing a house, so many different times. And as adults, the time you had together and the time in your neighborhood, the Lowell Street gang, how many great moments, how many incredible friendships. While we're looking back, do me a favor, raise your hand if Aaron ever made you a mixtape. There are a bunch of hands up. I think there are probably more. If you ever listened to his mixtape, there are probably even many more. He was the original Spotify playlist, right? And camp. Camp. How many people camp memories include Aaron. Yeah, there are more hands. There are all of you here who were friends, and I'm told there are so many others who just, even if they weren't friends per se, Aaron was part of their camp memories and is. Memories beyond memories of you Rubin kids and the legacy he leaves. Jordan, Alexa, I'm sorry. You're not supposed to have to do this. And my crying's probably not helping. You know how much your dad loved you. You're going to hear him at the most intense and the most stupid moments. And sometimes you're going to be really angry because you're going to hear him telling you your dress was inappropriate. And sometimes you're just going to laugh. You're going to be with your friends at school, and you're going to burst out laughing because someone said something or put a movie on, and you just knew Dad would have said that. Or you're going to burst into tears, and that's okay too. His love isn't going away. And you're not on this journey alone. Everyone in this front row, everyone in this room, your friends who came in from school, who are here. Dad loved you. He wanted more road trips. He loved the ones he took. He loved the movies with you. He so wanted to go to that Cubs game. He loved living with you during the pandemic and your friends. And your friends loved your dad, which says everything about you and your dad and your relationship, right? Most people's friends don't really want to be near their parents. And Dad was there for you. Can you see him pacing the side of your soccer fields? Can you see him in the audience for your shows, even though he really didn't like theater? How about when he came to camp and goes, "Oh, I'm going home now. I'm not really here for that ritual." Dad was there, and he wanted to be here more. Your pods loved you, and he's not here, and it's not the same, but his love is here. And all of these people here have promised today to keep telling you the stories of your dad. So keep listening for his voice. Lori, what a start to a relationship. And what an act of faith for you both. As you said, you knew you weren't going to grow old together. To enter a relationship knowing you're going to be a caregiver, no words. You and Aaron were like kids. Those phone calls, waiting for the next phone call. Aaron saying to his siblings, "Should I call? Should I text?" How many of those Netflix viewing parties when you were living in different places? His perpetual tan from that Florida trip. The way he looked at you. The way you looked at him and stood by him. And you're living together as an act of your love. And what an act of presence and love these last months. Lev, Eli, Lily, you have so many memories. Mom told me a few. Keep hearing your uncle's voice. Keep hugging your cousins. You know the laughs. He was present for you and you for him. You're here. You were here in life. You're here in death. And I know you protect your mom always, giving her those hugs. And your uncle, no, your grandma. Everyone here has so many memories. We could be here a week, a month, and not get through them all. Do me a favor, take a few moments of silence. Hear Aaron's voice. Focus on one moment or memory, and I know you have so many. Just hear him. Take a moment to recall something that is quintessentially Aaron. Just be in the space with your memories. We pause to remember. We gather this morning with gratitude and a profound sense of grief. We gather with sadness, no doubt anger. This isn't fair. Let us all vow to honor Aaron's life and honor our gratitude. Our gratitude for his life, our gratitude for sharing in his life. Let us live with joy and music. Even if you didn't like his music, take a little of his too. Let us live with enthusiasm and irreverence. Let us adore our families and cherish our friends. Let us fight the most difficult challenges, taking them head on, and somehow managing to laugh throughout. Jewish tradition is clear: we best honor the memories of our loved ones when we take the lessons of their lives, the explicit and implicit lessons in their words and their deeds, how they lived their lives, how they talked, what they did with their hands and their hearts. Let us take the memories, the lessons of Aaron Rubin's life. Let us bring them into our own today and every day, and let us do so explicitly. If you go back to work today or tomorrow or school and you do something or say something because, or you're talking to someone because Aaron did it or said it, say that. And when you get a memory or a moment, please go, as I asked earlier, please write them down. Please send them. Family will share them with one another. And if you have a moment of remembering their dad, it just makes you laugh or smile or makes you think, reach out to his girls. It's okay. Don't worry about making them cry. They're already crying. Just show them your love and your presence. Let us take the memories and lessons of Aaron's life and bring them into our own. May his memory be for a blessing. Zichrono levracha. We say, Amen. If you're physically able, please rise for El Malei Rachamim. El Malei Rachamim shochen b'amromim hamsei menucha nechona tachat kanfei hashchina im kedoshim oteorim k'zohar rakia mazirim et nishmat Aharon ben Tzadok Raphael v'Natali shehach leholamo ba'al harachamim yasdirehu b'seter knafav leholamim b'tzror hachayim et nishmato Adonai hu nachalato v'yanuach b'shalom al mishkavo v'nomar Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest and your sheltering presence to Aaron who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let him find refuge in your eternal presence. Let his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is his inheritance. May he rest in peace, and let us say, Amen. Please be seated.
This concludes our service here in our chapel. The interment will take immediately at the family's plots at Memorial Park Cemetery in Skokie. Following the interment, the family will be sitting Shiva at the Bernstein residence. That information was included on the folder you received on your way in. If you had not received one, there are more available on your way out. We also want to just acknowledge and thank those many individuals who joined us on live stream. The information for the Shiva is also on ChicagoJewishFunerals.com. Please make sure to follow the correctly stated street signs and be mindful of any changes in the Bernstein residence area. Please also note that the family's asked memorial contributions may be made to the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network. That information is both online and on the service folder as well. For those of you joining us in the procession with the family to the cemetery, please make sure you obtain an orange funeral safety sticker. That sticker should be placed in the front passenger side of the windshield. We would also ask that you have your bright headlights and flashing hazard lights on at all times. For an additional measure of safety, our staff will be placing magnetic flags on the tops of the vehicles throughout the procession. As we drive in procession, please make sure that you stay as close as safety permits to the car in front of you at all times, as we want to avoid any large spaces or gaps in the procession, especially when we go through intersections. For those who are not joining us in the procession, please make sure you return directly to your car and exit the parking lot as soon as possible. The following individuals have been selected to serve as pallbearers. When I call your name, please join me at the side of the casket. Joe Ranguso, Rich Homburger, Steve Edelstein, Brian Rubin, Michael Rubin, Maggie Pelletier, Richard Bernstein, and Lori Cooper. At this time, I would ask everyone to please rise as we escort the casket of Mr. Rubin, the family, the clergy from the chapel at this time. No?